young women can't do it. Young women cannot talk openly about sexuality and desire. It's only the older women of my generation who can do it. What society tells me is good for me is not necessarily my experience of it, you know,
Yes.
and rather my experience tells me something else. So I started becoming more true to my own experience. Anything that happens outside you, any relationship issue or anything at your workplace or anything even on the street or anything in your health, your first reaction should not be to look outward and to blame or to, look for the external reasons, but to look within.
Hi, Aekta, and welcome to the About Her Show, a platform where we get trailblazing women to share the story of their lives with us. And then we also get men who champion such women because we believe in gender inclusivity. But sometimes our conversations are centered around specific topics, like a particular book or issues like, mental health, and going with that flow. Today, we want to talk about love and relationships from the point of view of a woman. Now, no matter where a woman is, who she is, every woman, I think, feels very strongly about love. Love is a very integral part, and we get very emotional about it. But then, considering the society that we live in, which is bound by so many stereotypes, traditions, norms, beliefs, most of the times we are not able to express it the way we want to. And which I think sometimes leaves an element of dissatisfaction within us. So therefore, we decided to, have this conversation on love and relationships from a woman's perspective. And who better than you to get on the show, someone who believes so much in the empowerment of women, has been doing so much about it. And then, of course, going by your personal life as well, which can be a great source of inspiration to many, many women. So, a very warm welcome to you, Ekta.
Thank you so much, Sangeeta. I've really enjoyed our association and all our conversations, and I'm really looking forward to this one.
So am I. So am I. All right. So, without further ado, first, just to get some of the listeners, if they don't already know you, acquainted with you. So, if you could tell us just very briefly about what you do, your journey, and how eShe happened.
So I had been working with fashion magazines for more than 15 years before I started my media platform, eShe,
Okay.
which is a platform where I would interview women who are doing interesting things. And I have created a space where women can share their voices, they can share their views, and we learn from each other. And it has also expanded to become a part of a larger South Asian peace network, so that we are using women's voices, women's leadership for a greater cause, like to create peace in the region.
Hmm.
So that has been part of the journey. Ishi is 7 years old now,
Yeah.
and the stories still are coming. It's a combination of written word as well as the spoken word, and there are video interviews, much like the one that you're doing.
Mm-hmm.
And I think more than that, it's now been so many associations, especially with authors and women writers, that it's become a platform really for women writers to be showcased. And So that's something that is going on. That's part of my calling, which I did it as an act of love, actually. It
Okay.
was never meant to be an enterprise, it was meant to be an act of love, which I'm continuing to do, and I guess I will. And besides that, yes, of course, we talked about love and we talked about the documentary Love Story
Yeah.
that came out earlier this year.
Yeah.
Um, and Yeah, that's about. I still think of myself as a writer and an editor, and I edit books also on the side.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm a family woman. I'm very much involved with my family. I have two grown daughters. My parents live right next door, and my husband's an author as well. So yeah, very much in the family life, firmly in the family life.
Wonderful. So, also experiencing different forms of love. Yes?
Yes.
All right. So, Ekta, now coming to the whole point of this conversation. So let's start by asking you, how do you define love, and has that definition for you evolved over the years?
So I think when we talk of love, the first association is with romantic love. But what I've come to learn is that um, love is not something you have to earn, or it's not something that you have to get and then it validates you.
Mm,
It's not like points on a sheet that so and so loves me, so I'm worthy of love, or my parents love me, or my partner loves me, or my children love me, so I'm worthy of love. So what I've come to learn over the years is that love is something that you already are, and it's your pleasure to give that love to people. And the more you give, the more the source of it just flows through you, and the more you have to give.
mm,
So
mm,
that after a point, it doesn't even matter who's in front of you, you still have that same kind of love, for
yeah.
everybody.
Mm, mm,
And it's no longer a conditional love. It's not a love that's based on the other person being or doing something. It's just there. It's just a state of being at that point.
yeah.
So I've really moved from a place of thinking of love as something you get to thinking of love as something that you already are and then you give.
Yeah.
It's both a verb and a noun. It's something you do and it's something that you already are. So
Yeah.
I've gone from that journey of being in a place where I thought I nobody loves me, to a
Mm,
place where I feel, but I am love, and
yeah.
I just need, I some now. In fact, now I'm coming to the next point where I don't even need an object to love. I don't even need a person to express that love to. It's
Mm,
a, it's there in you, and
mm,
it's just flowing out in waves, and it's just part of who you are. It's part of your uh, it becomes a part of your definition of yourself even
true.
it's
True. True.
so that for me that's how the definition of love has changed.
Wonderful, wonderful. And I think that also comes with experiences, with maturity, that you start viewing
Yeah,
the same
definitely.
thing differently, right? But tell me, yes, it flows out naturally. Love is, who you are and what you are. But still, the way you express it, society has a role to play in that, I mean, considering where we live. So, are there any societal expectations about love that you've struggled with or you've chosen to redefine?
So if, for those who have seen the documentary Love Story, it's a story about how I fell in love after my separation when I was a single mother with two children,
Hmm.
and how we came together despite all the challenges. And in our case, it was not just opposition from the parents and the extended family, but it was the opposition from the children that we had to face.
Yeah.
So for me, definitely, I think societal expectations has been a big thing that I've had to, come through, break through, and come out. And um, I was married very young. I was married when I was 20, and by 22, my first child was born. By 24, my second child was born.
Hmm.
So I at that time, you have a certain role that you're playing. For you, love is a duty. Love is a responsibility. You're supposed to love your family. You're supposed to love your husband, supposed to love your parents, whether you do or not.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
it's a responsibility that you have to do it. So for me, love was always at that age a responsibility, a duty that I
Hmm.
have to. Even with your own children, sometimes love doesn't come easily. Like for your, especially when it's your first baby, you don't even know how to be a mother. When you're 22 years old, you're a kid yourself. So
Yeah.
you don't know what maternal love is supposed to feel like. You're
Yeah.
also learning. And I was really growing up with my children, and I don't think I even they were a part of my body. They were not really something that I would say, oh, I really love my children. I
Hmm.
think it was just that they were part of me, and it's like how I love my hands or how I love my legs. They're like a part of me.
Hmm.
And it's just they're not an external thing that I'm supposed to love. They're already within me, or
Yeah.
extensions of me. So I think for me, that definition of love really started to become something clear when I started to love myself.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
when I started realizing that I am, um, I am somebody who is an individual. I'm
Yes.
not, and my children are not an extension of me. I am me, you know.
Mm-hmm.
My family is not like, I'm not part of the wall, the wallpaper. I
Mm,
am a separate individual human being.
mm,
I have my own personality, my quirks, my talents.
mm,
It's when I started realizing these things. And for me, the very big moment was when I started writing and I started expressing my whatever innate talents I had in myself at that time. And that's when I started realizing there is something in me that's different from everybody else around me. And there are certain things that I have in me which nobody else in my family had, you know. And so there was that the sense of self love started being born in me when I was in my late 20s or even around the age of 30. And I
mm,
was introduced to Buddhism at that point. I was introduced to Nichiren Buddhism when I was 30. And that was another thing that led me uh, to think that, you know, I'm more than my roles. I'm more than the roles I'm playing in life. I'm a soul with a mission. I'm a soul with a purpose. And what is that purpose? I need to find it, you know? So there started that new quest in my life for something more than what society had told me is supposed to be the path. And that's when I started breaking through that. And I started thinking, what's my purpose? You know, what is calling me? Like, what am I called to do in this situation? How do I do? How do I stay true to myself?
yeah.
How do I start taking decisions that are in alignment with my thoughts? You know,
Mm,
for instance, society tells you to be a dutiful wife, to, you know, be there for your husband, or to, you know, give in to whatever he wants you to do. But
mm,
slowly I started questioning that is that supposed to come at a cost to my soul? Is that supposed to come at a cost to my peace and my happiness?
mm,
And if I'm not happy, then why am I in this situation? You know? So slowly it was a kind of a shedding of the skin, and
mhm.
it was a coming apart of all the structures in my life, the social structures.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it began with self-love, you know, that breakdown of everything else around me was happening simultaneously with this coming together of everything inside me. And then very soon, in just a period of a few years, I was in a completely different place. I was out of that marriage. I was out of those circumstances. I was, you know, I was completely in a different place. So for me, definitely breaking through social expectations was a
Mm,
big part of, you know, my discovery of self love.
mm, mm. So you're so right. I think being able to love someone starts by loving yourself first. Because I think when you love yourself, then you're able to extend it and spread it around you. So, you agree with this that self love is important for nurturing other forms of love in your life?
Yes, for me, actually, that has been the journey. It was when I started accepting all parts of myself, you know, the good, the bad, the parts that society says are not, you know, suppose girls are not supposed to talk about sexuality, or girls are not supposed to have sexual desire. We're supposed to repress all those things. It's only when I started expressing or accepting those parts of myself
Yeah.
that this is how I am. This
Yeah.
is what makes me feel good. This is what makes me happy. This person, you know, at that point, I met my partner who's now my husband.
Mm,
And I was like, this person makes me happy. You know, this person makes me feel good in myself. I started listening to myself and what gives me pleasure.
mm,
And that for me, that was really the breaking, you know, it was like the eureka moment. And I started accepting all parts of myself, you
yeah.
know, even the parts of myself that I didn't like about myself before. I started accepting it that, you know, for instance, my very Punjabiness,
Mm,
I used to feel that, you know, I'm too old fashioned, or I look very, whatever, you know, I'm not fashionable enough or something.
mm,
But
mm.
after a while, I started accepting that that's how I am.
Yes.
I'm a Punjabi, and that's how I dress, and that's how I look. And you know,
Yes.
so after a while, I just started accepting all those parts of me. I started accepting if I didn't like something, I accepted it that I didn't like it. I don't need to subject myself to something I don't like. And if
Yeah.
I like something, I accepted that I like this. and I go ahead and I do those activities, or I be with those people whom I like being with, even if society would say that those people are wrong for me, you know.
mm,
So I think for me, until I didn't start loving myself, I didn't even know what I loved. I didn't even know what I would have, what kind of a partner would have come in my life if I didn't know who I wanted, like, if I wasn't sure what I wanted, you know.
right.
So it's first I have to know myself. I have to know what I want. I have to know what makes me feel good. And
Mm,
only then I can attract that kind of a partner in my life. And
yeah,
then I have all the love in the world to give because
absolutely.
I'm already satiated. I'm already full with myself. So
Yeah,
I'm only there. That person is just there to get the benefit of all that love that's pouring out of me, you know. So
mm,
it's definitely, and I think even though my children were opposed to my relationship at that time, you know, they could also see, and they also now look back and they say, yes, it's better to have a happy mother
yeah,
than to have a frustrated mother, you know. So it's good that you had that relationship because you're happy. We don't have to worry about you because we know you're okay, you know, you have somebody and you're okay, you're taking care of yourself. So it's better for the child in the long run to have a happy mother
yeah.
than to have the mother to yourself, but then your mother is unhappy inside her.
Right, right. So, very important point you mentioned, which is being comfortable, in your skin, accepting who you are, because I think that's the first thing. When you start doubting yourself, or you start disliking who you are, or you start judging yourself from somebody else's lens, I think you're doing a great disservice to yourself. So, I think being comfortable, being happy with who you are, yes, this is who I am, take it or leave it. I think that gives you a lot of empowerment, a sense of empowerment that this is what it is.
Yeah.
So tell me, Ekta, how has your sense of identity, the kind of person that you are, influenced what you desire romantically or otherwise?
So one of the things that you may have seen in the movie is that how me and my partner came together over writing.
Yes.
So he was a journalist and I was working as an editor in a publishing house, but
Hmm.
we were both bloggers. So we both used to blog as a hobby,
Hmm. Hmm.
and we used to read each other's blog, and we were part of this blogging community that was there in India, which is the first set of bloggers of India,
Hmm. Hmm.
when the internet was just in its first few years. And that's how we actually got to know each other. So I used to have an anonymous personal blog. So I used to write about my life as a mother and as a working woman who's struggling with a whole lot of things. I used to write about feminism and patriarchy in society, and he used to write more about economics and politics and history. So it was very different topics, but definitely what brought us together was the love for books and the love for the written word. And
Hmm.
because I saw myself as a writer and an editor, uh, and you're right, that was a part of my identity.
Hmm. Hmm.
Uh, I was able to look up to him as a writer and an editor too, you know, and that's what kind of brought us together. That I was able to appreciate him, his work, and he was able to appreciate mine. So I think somewhere we didn't have anything else in common. Like we're from very different cultural backgrounds.
Yeah.
Um, he's from Kerala. I'm from Delhi. He has a very different upbringing. I have a very different upbringing, and it's funny because we don't even speak the same language. We speak to each other in English.
Hmm.
We don't. I don't understand Malayalam as much, and his Hindi is okay. He understands it,
Uh-huh.
but we don't speak to each other in Hindi or Malayalam. We speak to each other in English.
Hmm.
And our food habits are completely different. He's a non-vegetarian. I'm a vegetarian. It's we are really, really poles apart in everything else. But the one thing that we're really united with is our writing. And he's an author. He's written 4 books. His fourth book has just come out this month.
Yeah.
And so that's something that has really brought us together. That's been a part of our journey. We have lots and lots of books at home, and it's a topic that we are always discussing.
Hmm.
So I think yes, being a writer was initially the point of attraction to another writer.
Yeah.
That was what brought us together because there was very little else in common that we had.
Hmm.
But I would say, like over the years, of course, I've come to a lot of understanding about karmic connections and a whole lot of other things. And now I feel that that was just sort of an excuse
Hmm.
for us to come together and ultimately, when your soul is on a certain journey, and it will find the partner it needs to evolve and to go to the next level. So then at that point, it doesn't really matter what that person does or what their career is or whatever. It doesn't matter after that point. It's just there for that initial attraction.
Correct, correct. And as they say, opposites do attract, isn't it?
Yeah.
So yeah, I
Yeah. We
get
are
what
pretty
you say.
opposite in a lot of
Yeah.
ways. Yeah.
So you proved it. Yes. All right. So Ekta, when it comes to desire and expressing it, now we all know, we understand that women also have desires. But when it comes to the expression of those desires, how does the society take to it? Are women encouraged or discouraged? And how has that affected you?
No, I think we in India, in South Asia, the and in many other parts of the world, women have never been encouraged to express sexual desire. I mean, if you go back to our epics, look at our epics. I mean, look at Surpanakha from the Ramayana. You
Hmm.
know, she was a woman who was twice punished for expressing her desire. The first time she married for love, and her brother Ravana, he killed her husband.
Yeah.
And then he told her, "Fine, go and find another partner for yourself." And then she came across Ram, and she fell in love with Ram. She desired him,
Hmm.
but then Ram and Lakshman sort of played a game with her, and then she got angry and she sort of attacked Sita, and then Lakshman cut her nose off.
Hmm.
Why did all that happen? What is the what is the symbolic meaning of that whole episode? It means that if a woman shows her expresses her desire for a
Hmm.
man, if she's showing it,
Yeah.
she's going to be punished. There it's so clear, and she's going to be punished, and her nose is cut off, which is considered like it's a part of your face which renders you not only disabled, but it's also desexualizing you.
Hmm.
It's making you so that you'll never have a partner again. And
Right.
it's the same thing we see today in modern India. When a girl rejects a boy, he we have so many instances of acid attacks. He throws acid on her face for being rejected. So it's even, I mean, I don't want to go into the dark side because this is not not the place for that. But if you do look at the whole case of Nirbhaya, which what happened in 2012, it's those the people who attacked her. They later said that she was out at 9 o'clock with a boy, so she deserved what happened to her. You know,
Hmm.
so there is this sense that if a woman is out and showing her or expressing her desire or her sexuality, she has to be punished for it. And even if you come to the Mahabharata, look at Draupadi. She chose Arjun. That was her choice. She expressed her desire for this man. And what happened? She was forced to be shared with five men. you
Yeah.
know so that's a kind of a punishment too, that okay, you want this guy, well, now you're going to have five of them.
Yeah.
So it's a kind of a very cruel joke. It's a kind of a uh, it's there. It's part of our culture. It's inbuilt in the social
Yeah.
the conditions of our society, that women cannot show their express their desire. If they do, they are going to be punished for it. And the
Hmm.
men think that it's all right to punish a woman who expresses her sexuality and expresses her desire.
Right.
And that's why that I feel I need to talk about it now, because young women can't do it. Young women cannot talk about openly about sexuality and desire. It's only the older women of my generation who can do it. So
Hmm.
age is a privilege for women in our culture. Coming of a certain age, when your children are grown up, it bestows you a certain privilege in society that you're able to speak. I mean, if you go on Instagram, you see most of the women talking about sexuality. They're Most of them are older women. It's only because of age that they have that space to be able to talk about these things. So I
Hmm.
think it's important for us to talk about it, because the younger women can't. They're still in a vulnerable position,
Yeah.
and they have so much more to lose than we do. We have nothing more to lose. So um, that's another thing that I learned when I broke off those social conditionings, that you
Hmm.
know um, what society tells me is good for me is not necessarily my experience of it. you know
Yes.
and rather my experience tells me something else. So I started becoming more true to my own experience
Hmm.
of what the good things in life are versus what society tells me is the good thing in life.
Yeah, because I think society is just following those stereotypes. I don't think it's even taking a pause to consider whether we need to revisit our views, beliefs, or whatever. And everybody is just towing the line. And it is like, unless and until we normalize these things, unless and until we have
Yeah,
conversations around these, it's always going to be the same. So you're right. We older women who have, of course, we have maturity also on our side, as of course
yeah,
the age, we need to step up and we need to talk about it and say it's okay.
yeah,
You have these desires and it's okay to express them and talk about them.
yeah.
So tell me, how has your understanding of desire changed over time, and what role does it play in your life now?
So I'm going to see desire in a larger way, not just sexual desire, but all kinds of desire.
Yes.
So in Buddhism practice, there's a phrase, earthly desires are enlightenment. And what it means is that, so this practice says you don't need to go off somewhere into the hills and give up all your earthly desires to achieve enlightenment. You can achieve enlightenment where you are, exactly as you are in your current role. You can bloom where you're planted.
Mm.
And so your earthly desires are what will lead you to enlightenment, in fact, if you can see it that, if you can turn your challenges into your mission,
Yeah.
then you have converted your earthly desires. Like, for instance, if I'm having a health issue and I
Mm.
start doing yoga to
Yeah.
overcome that health issue, I have converted my challenge into my mission.
Yeah.
That yoga will then lead me to a more evolved version of who I am. It'll make me better, stronger, wiser in the long run. So
Mm.
it was my health issue which actually led me to do that yoga in the first place.
Right.
So I've had all these experiences, and going through whatever I went through a first marriage, and then being a single mother for so many years, and
Mm.
then battling my own children to marry again for a second time, and
Yeah.
then at the end of it all, somebody from Dharma Productions comes and makes a movie about it. So it just put everything in context for me, that all that happened for a reason.
Yes.
All those experiences, all that suffering, all that heartbreak, all that struggle, it was for a reason, because at the end of it, somebody else needed to see it, somebody else needed to be inspired by it. So for me, earthly desires are, this is exactly what it is. I wanted to get out of a certain situation. I wanted to be happy.
Yeah.
I wanted to follow my heart. And in the following of that heart, I underwent a lot of healing. I went for a lot of spiritual activities and growth. I started following a spiritual practice. I went for a whole lot of other, meditations and lots of other things. So it overall helped me to grow. It was my bad situation which helped me to get closer to the God within me.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I am very grateful, and we should be grateful for all the challenges that we have in our life, because there's a seed of enlightenment in that. There's a seed of our life's purpose in that. So we should be grateful for that. So for me, that's what desire means now. It means that you should always have something to look forward to. So sometimes I feel, बस अब मेरे को और कुछ नहीं चाहिए. Like, I'm really happy now in life. I've
Mhm.
got whatever I wanted. My kids have grown up, and everything is good. But and I don't want anything for myself. I'm fine the way I am. But then I'm like, no, it's important to have a desire. Anything. So now
Mm.
I've started doing my masters. So that's my new desire,
Wonderful.
that
Okay.
I must study. I must do this. This is something I've always wanted to do. Now I'm relatively free. Let me do this at this phase of my life. So
Mm.
always have a goal, always have a desire, because
Mm.
that is going to make you a better version of yourself.
Absolutely, absolutely. That's going to give you a purpose in life. That's going to help you move forward, because we have to live for as many years as we are supposed to be living. So it's good to have
Yes.
something to look forward to. So a desire does not have to be something that has to be looked at, from the critical, point of view. Desire
Yeah.
means that you're looking for something to grow, like you said, becoming a better version of yourself. So tell me, Ekta, nowadays, of course, social media and all these narratives, they're playing such an important part in our role. We are kind of addicted to this, and people are consuming a lot of content which is there on social media. So tell me, what kind of a role can these kind of, like this social media basically play in supporting women's desire, to express their desires, or the need for women to express their desires? Like we're saying that, we need to have more conversations. So what role can they play in this?
I think a lot of young people are also doing a lot of interesting things on social media,
Mm,
and their life is so different from ours. Like, I was just discussing it with my friend's daughter today that, in our generation, by the time I was my kid's age, I was a mother of two. I mean, my life was completely different, and the
mm,
rules that applied to me don't apply to them anymore. They have much more complicated decisions to take. The young women of today, they have to make different kinds of choices, and their life journey, their trajectories are going to be very different from mine.
yeah.
And I think they think social media as a way to as a way to connect with other like-minded people. uh, you know but what I'm wary of is following the beaten path,
Mm,
because somebody else is on social media, so you want to be on social media. Because somebody is an influencer, it kind of becomes the default for everybody else, that, oh, I want to be an influencer. So I would just be a little wary of following what everybody else is doing, uh, and do your own thing, like do what makes you happy. A lot of people in their 20s and 30s, a lot of women and even men, um, you know, they're really seeking something. They're going from one career to another career. They're going from one freelance gig to another freelance gig. They don't seem to be finding any one place to sort of settle down the way our generation used to do that.
yeah.
Um, and I think maybe that's the challenge of their generation, of the millennials and the Gen Z's. They have that challenge that they don't have any one place to be. They have so many options, they have so many distractions.
Mm,
But even within those distractions, they're sort of getting into this whole thing of being an influencer, or earning money through YouTube, or earning money through so many other ways online of selling your content and making money.
mm,
That has become sort of the default way of making money in today's day and age. And there's no concept of sticking on in one job for a long time. And I don't think you should also. I mean, jobs can also be exploitative, and they can be frustrating to be in one place for too long.
mm,
But I still wish that for their generation also, to follow their own heart, to follow their own calling, and
mm,
not to follow what everybody else is doing.
right.
uh, because everybody is, um, all these social media platforms are designed in the Western world, and
Mm,
they all have one motive, which is to get more and more number of hits, and that's how you make money.
right.
And money is like the ultimate aim of everybody in life, in the Western world, right? In the capitalist system. So the
Mm,
goal of everything is money. So even if you are speaking all kinds of nonsense, or you're spewing hate towards people, the point is that you're getting hits, and the point is that you're making money.
mm,
And as long as you're doing that, you're a successful influencer, you're a successful blogger, you're a success. Uh, I don't subscribe to that. I'm like, you have a certain mission in your life, you have a purpose in your life. Is your only purpose to make money for technology companies? Is that your purpose in your life?
mm,
You may be making 2 rupees on YouTube, or YouTube will be making 200 rupees on you.
of course.
So, you use your own, you know, think about it. Think about what is your calling in your life. And if you think that this is the path to follow, follow it. But I really think, it's like getting sucked into a different kind of a social conditioning. Our generation had this social conditioning. Okay, the girl turns 20 years old, she needs to be married, and she needs to have children, and she
Mm,
needs to be a homemaker. And okay, that was our generation social conditioning for the girls.
yeah, yeah.
Today's generation has a different kind of a social conditioning. You need to look a certain way, you need to have an Instagram account, you need to post pictures of yourself traveling. So now people are having those kind of social conditioning. They're growing up in that environment,
Mm,
which I think is, it's transferred. That social conditioning has transferred into another kind of a thing. And
right.
just like I broke out of my generation social conditioning, I'm urging the younger women of today to break out of their society's social conditioning. No,
Yeah.
you don't have to do all that. You can choose happiness. You don't have to choose pressure of performing. It's a performance.
It
You
is.
don't have to do that. You
Mm,
can choose happiness. You can find your own path. You don't have to have a certain, always expressing yourself out there to be a success.
Yeah.
You can be a success exactly as you are.
So I think it is important for, first of all, every woman to break out of, again, what is being dictated by the society and identify what is it that you actually desire. Then
Yes.
whether, a medium of expression is letting you express it or not is a different thing. But first of all, you have to know what is it that you want beyond this conditioning, beyond these pressures. I think that
Yeah.
is so, so essential, which I think somewhere, as you rightly pointed out, the younger generation is losing track of. You just get sucked in all of that and you're not able to see beyond it. So that I think needs to be really corrected in that sense. So, Ekta, tell me, I, as a woman, have certain desires. I mean, I've been able to delve deep, go deep into myself and understand what is it that I really want from life. Now, whether it's a romantic desire or it has to do with my career or ambition or whatever it is, I know what I want. But then it is in conflict with what the society expects out of me, right? So how do, as a woman, how do I deal with such a conflict or handle such a conflict?
Yeah. So the same thing was uh, my journey, that I realized that what society wants from me, it wants me to be married early. It
Yeah,
wants me to have children early. It
yeah.
wants me to play a certain kind of role in the family. And it tells me that that's going to make you happy. I
Right.
realized that was not making me happy.
Hmm.
I was not happy.
Yeah.
It said divorce is like the worst thing to happen to a woman. You will be lonely, you will be miserable. But my experience said divorce was liberating. I
Hmm.
was free. I
Hmm.
had more choices. I had more freedom. I could get up when I wanted. I could sleep when I wanted. So
Yeah.
I could choose who I wanted to be with. So for me, whatever I as I went along, I realized that everything that society is telling me, my experiences are not matching up. It's not the same.
Hmm. Hmm.
Society tells you to do this, but when you do it, you realize, nah, I'm not happy in this situation.
Right. Hmm.
So that's when I started. It was the same phase when I started appreciating and understanding and accepting myself as I was,
Hmm.
and I started slowly rejecting everything that society wanted me to be.
Hmm.
And I was probably the first one in my family to be divorced. And it was a big social stigma at that time.
Yeah.
uh, m- and people said that your family will reject you, nobody will invite you, you will always be the black sheep and you'll always be the unlucky one and things like that. But
Hmm.
that was not my experience at all. My family was extremely loving. My
Yeah.
extended family, my cousins have always been loving with me,
Hmm.
and I've always been loving with them.
Hmm.
So again, it was not my experience. People would say women are women's worst enemies,
Yeah.
but my experience always said women are women's best friends, and
Hmm.
they are like my most dear possessions in my life. My
Hmm.
biggest gifts are my female friends.
Yeah.
Everything that society tells you is designed for a certain patriarchal setup. And
Yeah.
it's when you start accepting yourself and when you start looking at your own experiences, and then you're like, you know what, I'm not sure that that works for me. Something else is working for me.
Hmm.
And similarly, when it comes to even finding a love partner,
Yeah.
society tells you to be of the similar background, or they should have a similar upbringing or a similar mindset, or they should look in a certain way.
Hmm.
My husband and I, we look completely different.
Huh.
We have completely different mindsets. He's an atheist, and I'm deeply spiritual.
Hmm.
We're completely different in so many ways. Even our political discussions, somewhere okay, we both have a certain desire for social justice and things like that.
Hmm.
But on so many other levels, we have very different views on so many things.
Hmm. Hmm.
That doesn't, but again, that doesn't come in the way of loving that person.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
love is a very different, it's a different thing. It's there despite what that other person looks like or what they are even. It's just there.
Yeah.
It's like a love for your child. You don't love your child because they look a certain way or because they speak a certain way or they behave a certain way. You shouldn't. I mean, if that's how parents are bringing up their children, then that's not the right way to do it.
Yeah.
But you love them despite everything. Despite everything that they do, you express to them that I am with you.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
love you. And after a point, it for me, when my kids were growing up, in fact, people would tell me, you're giving your good daughters too much freedom. You're letting them. And I'm like, you know what? that's exactly what I didn't have, and I want to
Yeah.
give them, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And the whole world can be on one side and my daughter is on one side, you know.
Right.
I really don't care what people think. I care what my daughter thinks, and her happiness is the most important thing to me. So you'll never catch me suppressing my children or telling them don't do this or don't do that because log kya kahenge, you know,
Right.
because I don't care for those log, you know, because they were wrong. I mean, they've
Mm-hmm.
given me the wrong roadmap for my life. It didn't work for me at all.
Mm.
So for me, it's really been my own journey, my own experience that has taught me that my desire is my desire. It's true. It's the truth. And what society tells me I should desire, that's not the truth. That may be somebody else's desire. It's not
Right.
mine,
That's right.
you know. So really accepting my desire and accepting that this is what makes me who I am is nothing to be, there's no shame in it. No, shame is a word that no longer is there, you know, because you accept yourself and you love yourself. And if you are how you are, God has made me this way. God is not ashamed of me. So who are these people? I don't know who these people are, you know.
Right.
And why should my live my life based on what their definition of shame or whatever, or honor or whatever it is? My I know what my honor is. I know
Yeah.
what is honorable for me, you know, in that moment. Um, that and I think I've really been following my heart for so many years now,
Mm.
and it's got me into trouble. Of course, I've had a lot of struggle. I've
Mm.
had to. I think the biggest struggle in any woman's life would be to stand up to her own children, because it's very different uh, to stand up to your parents,
Yeah.
and it's very different to stand up to your children, because they are your first love also, you know. They are also, you know, dil ke tukde hain wo, like they are pieces of your heart. So to stand up to your own children and say, no, I am important too, you know, my love is important too, and this person in my life is important for me. So
Yeah.
I, you know, will go and I will marry this person. I know it's breaking your heart, but it's important for me to do it, you
Yes.
know. And I think eventually, what in our case, what happens is that they accepted it and they began to love him, and they began to see that what mama did was the right thing to do, and it's better for her to have a partner and to
Right.
be happy rather than to be single and with the kids all the time and to be miserable, you know.
Right. Yeah.
So now they understand it. Of course, we've had very difficult few years of their teenagers when, you know, we got married when they were kids,
Mm.
when they were teenagers. So it was a very difficult phase,
Mm.
but now it's behind us, you know. So now there's an understanding from their side as well.
Yeah.
And I think that comes because they realized mom went all out to be happy in her life,
Yeah.
and it's important to be happy, and you need to fight for your happiness too sometimes.
Yes.
So if you have to do it, you have to do it. So, and
Yeah.
I think it's an important lesson for anybody to learn that sometimes you need to fight for your happiness. You'll need to fight social stigma. You will need to fight your own social conditioning in your own head that, you know, you're supposed to be only married once and whatever, you know, all those social conditioning that we, you know, we're raised with as
Yeah.
daughters, as girls. You know, I had to so much, I had to go through so many processes and healing to really come out of those old social patterns that I had so deeply ingrained in me, that this is what a wife is supposed to be. This is what a mother is supposed to be, you know.
Yeah.
And it, thankfully, I've now reached a stage when I'm able to feel a sense of oneness and a sense of love for everybody, you know,
Mm.
including my ex family, including for everybody. Like mm, we've been through a lot of tough times, and I understand that that was my journey, that was their journey as well.
Yes.
And now now there's, at least in my heart, there's peace, you know.
Yeah.
And I've really accepted that whatever happens, happens for a reason. And
Yeah.
even my willful heart and my very, impulsive heart that has always led me to take these very strong life choices, strong decisions in life.
Mm.
It's been given to me for a reason, you know. So
Yes.
I'm
Yes.
slowly learning to accept that.
I think that's true. And I think that also comes with age and maturity when you realize that whatever happens in your life was meant to happen and happened for a reason. But like they say, that you understand life, you live life forwards, but you understand it only backwards. You don't understand
Absolutely.
you're living through those moments. So tell me, Ekta, that what advice would you give the young women of today about understanding and pursuing their own desires? Because I think we want this to be an inspirational conversation where people can pick up some bits of this conversation and maybe, apply it to their lives and, help themselves. So what would you tell them?
So I somehow don't feel equipped to tell anybody anything, because everybody has their own journey, everybody has their own destiny,
Yeah,
their own
yeah, but still,
purpose, you
yeah,
know.
still, yeah.
And what was my path may not be your path, or may not be my daughter's path, or so I'm a little wary, but I do give a lot of advice to my daughters naturally,
Mm,
because they are my daughters and they reach out to me on a day-to-day basis for whatever issues they may be dealing with their life, in their life. And what I tell them is, anything that happens outside you, any relationship issue or anything at your workplace or anything even on the street or anything in your health,
mm,
your first reaction should not be to look outward and to blame, or to look for the external reasons, but to look within. Your
okay.
first reaction should always be look within,
Mm,
that what do I need to learn from this situation, what do I need to change in myself to make this situation a better situation for myself.
mm, mm,
um, Always look within and see, what am I feeling right now. you
yeah.
know what is the trigger in me right now, what
Mm,
memory am I being triggered, why am I reacting in this way. um, you know even a certain health issue sometimes is telling you something.
yeah, yeah,
It's
yeah.
telling you that there was something in you that needed to change in that situation, or that there's a trigger somewhere, there's an old memory that has been suppressed that's coming out. So everything that happens to you on the outside, even if it looks bad at that moment, it looks like a catastrophe, it looks like a trauma, it looks like something that is really, really negative. But
Mm,
actually, it always has the seed of your growth in it. There's always a seed in there for you to learn from it, for you to change, and for you to grow. And like I said, this generation has so many different set of challenges when
yeah.
it comes to relationships. In my generation, parents used to say, you stay in that marriage, whatever happens, even if you're unhappy, even if he's beating you up, and even if you're miserable, and even if you're suffering, just stay in that marriage despite everything. That's how all of South Asia and all of our the women of our society have always lived. They've just put up with everything, but because for them there was never an option to leave.
Yeah.
But our generation is very different. We tell our daughters, don't put up with it, don't stay, leave, So we're warning them not to make the mistakes that we made. But that is leading to a new set of challenges for that generation,
Yeah.
because now they don't know how to tell who is the good person and who's the bad person, because they're like, so for them now it's the choice is so much more, the responsibility of choice
Yeah. Yeah.
is much more difficult than the responsibility of being in a choiceless marriage. Because at least you can say, okay, I was married here, I have to put up with this, it was not my choice, and you're sort
Right.
of in
Right.
it. But
Mm,
they have to make a choice, and for them it's so scary to make that choice, because they don't know, like, what is this right for me or is this not right for me.
yeah.
And then
Yeah.
after a few years they're like, oh, actually this was not right for me, but I didn't see the red flags. And
Mm,
and we as mothers are saying, that's a red flag, that's a red flag. So it's completely opposite to how we were raised by
right.
our mothers, that
Mm,
no matter how many red flags, it's like the whole red building out there, you still better stay in that marriage. So
yeah.
they're very different conflicting messages for this generation. And I think I feel actually very blessed that I have two daughters, because both their journeys are very different, and I
Mm,
feel like I'm learning about life through them. I'm
mm,
living so many different lifetimes
yeah.
because I'm experiencing their challenges and their struggles. But for me, it's because I follow this spiritual practice. It's the qualities of the Buddha that you aspire to at all times, which is wisdom, courage, compassion, and life energy, life force. Um, so you're constantly aiming at every moment to be wiser, to be more compassionate, to be more courageous, and to increase your life force, your life energy.
Mm,
And I think, they're going to have their own trajectory.
yeah.
What worked for me is not going to work for them. But
Right.
as long as they keep working on themselves, as
Yes.
long as they keep working on their own inner growth, they're how do you make a choice? Making a choice is such a difficult decision for
Mm.
anybody. Forget young people.
Yeah, yeah,
Even at our age, it's so difficult to make a choice between this and this. uh, you can only do it if you really understand yourself and you have that intuitive knowledge of what is right for you. That only comes with a lot of, like you said, maturity and years of understanding yourself and realizing this didn't work for me, so this is not going to work for me either.
yeah, yeah,
So there's, you start seeing what's good for you, what's not. They'll have to find it for themselves, what's good for them and what's not good for them. And I really, I feel, wow, their challenges are so much more
yeah.
than even what we had. So I'm actually waiting for them to give me advice and, and to tell me how did they do it. So I think I'll have to live many more years to learn from the next few generations.
You're so right. They actually, in that sense, because there is that information overload, there's so much that they know, it's very difficult to make a choice. I mean, see,
Yeah,
for us, choices were imposed. So that was a problem. For them, the responsibility of the choice lies on them, and that's a problem because you don't
yeah,
know. So I guess, not rushing into things, taking your time to analyze, maybe, consulting people, talking to people, and spending more time with whatever you want to do or whoever you want to be. I think those should be
yeah,
some, how should I say, the first few steps that you need to take before
definitely.
you make, a final call.
Yeah, yeah.
So, Ekta, we both of us, we feel so strongly about women being together and helping each other and being there for each other. So, tell me, when it comes to exploring love and desire, in ways that feel true to women, how can women help each other, support each other?
I think what you're doing is exactly that. This is how we support each other. We give each other a space to speak and we really listen to the other person. And just by being there, by listening, by really seeing that other person, you're already validating their experience and you're making it, you're being a humsafar, you're being a partner in their journey with them.
Yeah,
I think we really need to do this for the friends in our lives and without judging. There's a lot of, we our society comes with so many rules and regulations on how love is supposed to look like, on what desire is supposed to look like. You're supposed to only desire one person all your life. Mm, my experience says that may not be necessary.
yeah,
You're only supposed to desire your husband within a marriage. Again, my experience says, there are, you know, you might find love somewhere else. You didn't even let yourself explore it. And then when people come up to you and then they tell you that, look, I desire somebody who's outside my marriage, or when I desire somebody that's considered taboo in society, a lot of people have the tendency to judge and to
yeah.
say, no, this is wrong, this is wrong, this is wrong.
Mm,
And the funny thing is, oh, you learn all this only when you grow older. So I happened to be reading an article that I had written 15 years ago, in
uh,
which I had written, some certain lines about, don't go for a man if he is this, and this.
mm,
Uh, and now when I'm reading it like 10, 15 years later, I'm
uh,
like, well, now I won't say that,
yeah,
because there's no love has no rules. You can love anybody, and you don't know what he's going to be like.
right.
For instance, I'd written, don't love somebody with addictions, but sometimes you can love somebody with addictions,
Yeah,
and it works out okay. Even that's the person who makes you happy. Or don't love somebody who's already married, but sometimes you love somebody who's already married,
yeah,
and
yeah,
that works out okay too. And
right.
that's the journey that you needed to take in your life. So I think we must stop judging people. So I actually edited that article and I removed those lines, because
Okay.
we shouldn't judge what another person's journey is going to be. It can be anything. And I think if we're open and we give each other space, to just be who they are and to be who we are, I think that's how women can support each other. That,
Absolutely.
to respect and to understand that everybody's journey is different,
Yeah.
and what is working for her, it may be working for her, and it's all right. And
Yes.
I think that kind of space, non-judgmental space, is something that is a real gift of having girlfriends, and of
Yeah.
having women friends. And for instance, a lot of most of the rules of love they are based in of marriage rather are based in the mind, that there are certain boxes that need to be ticked before you marry this person. They
Mm,
have to have a certain background. But then again, like my experience taught me that for me, love began in the body. It began with a very biological impulse. It began with lust and desire. And
mm,
then it moved up to the level of the heart and the level of emotion and the
mm.
level where you really want to give somebody love and you want to receive love. And, so it went from biology to emotion. And then
Yeah.
after that, it moved on to a more spiritual plane where now I'm able to see God in everybody. And I'm able to see, that I'm able to love a lot of people that I would have never been able to love before. So now for me, love has become a bigger sort of a space.
Mm,
Uh, but that's my journey. Somebody else's journey may be very different. She
absolutely.
may start from somewhere else and then reach somewhere else. So it's just to be there and to accept that this is my journey. And one of I have a very close friend, who, she's always been a big supporter of eShe, my platform.
Mm,
But there was this one story I carried, and she disapproved of that story, and she says, "No, you shouldn't be giving a space for these kind of views." And
mm.
I'm like, "But that's my love, right? That I'm giving space for all kinds of views.
Yeah.
For as long as you're a woman, your view is important to me. I
Right.
may not agree with you, but
Yeah.
I want to give you that space to express it,
Absolutely.
and and listening to you helps me grow,
Yeah.
because I understand that my view is not the only way of looking at the world.
Very true.
There are other ways of looking at the world, and that doesn't make her, that woman, any less of a woman or less of a feminist
Right.
because she holds those views.
Yeah.
So for me, that's what actual love is, when you're willing to listen to the other person, and you may not agree with them or you may not follow that in your own life, but that doesn't stop you from respecting them and giving them the space to speak, and from even understanding them
Yeah.
after a point, you know.
It shouldn't, because that's what it is. You can't be judging. That's what it is. That is what is love. You let them grow, let them flourish the way they want to, the way they wish to. If you impose something on them, that's not love. Imposition
Right.
or forcing somebody or compelling someone to do something is not love. Love is just letting them be.
Yeah.
So, Ekta, so tell me, finally, we've spoken about, love that we have for children, love that we have for our parents, love that we have for our partners or husbands or spouses or whoever. But what kinds of love have you found most fulfilling outside of romantic relationships, whether it's a friendship or it's, say, your family, or even, passion for work?
So all relationships are important to me. My work is important to me, but for me, I think my biggest love has always been love for God, and that's been my for the last 20 years. That's been my guiding light,
Okay.
and my love for God is what has made me make all these choices, these impulsive choices, because of my utter faith and utter love for my God,
Mm,
and that sense of trust, and that sense of safety, that God will take care of me as long as I keep following my heart, which has been given to me for a reason. These desires have been given to me for a reason. As long as I am true to myself, God will take care of me. So my love for God has been the driving force of my life.
yeah.
And as I'm growing older, what I'm realizing is that I'm speaking to God in different ways. I would speak to God with words, maybe, or with my meditations. And now I'm thinking, and I'm thinking less actually, and I'm experiencing God in a different way. So I'm left brain, right brain, I'm experiencing God through different chakras, and I'm experiencing my connection with God is it's fluid, like it's changing, it's evolving, it's going through
Yeah.
different phases, and for me that has been a very amazing and a very beautiful and a very blessed part of my life, because uh, the more my relationship with God changes, the more things in my life also change.
Yeah.
My entire circumstances change, my entire life, my home, my partner, my jobs, everything changes as I change, as I evolve and as I grow in my self love and my love for the God with it, which is the God in me, you know.
Mhm.
So for me, that has always been the highest form of love, and yeah, it's going in interesting places.
Great,
It's
great.
it's
Good to know
it's
that.
not static.
Beautiful. I don't think love should be or can be static. I think it does go through various levels and stages, so to say. So,
Yeah.
Ekta, though we've come to the end of the conversation, we still have the rapid fire round to go, which is 5 quick questions, 5 quick answers. So, some of them based on the topic for today, which is love and relationships, and a couple of questions just about you. So, are you ready?
Absolutely.
All right. So, here comes the first question. Simple one. Your favorite romantic movie of all times?
Actually, I liked Forrest Gump a lot, though
Yeah.
in the end she passes away, and but somehow for me that was really love. You know, the way it's a very simple love he has. You know, the character he has for the girl,
Mm,
and though she keeps coming and going in his life, and she rejects him, and then she comes back to him,
mm.
uh, he's steady. You know, his love is a very pure kind of a love, which is very unconditional.
Yeah.
And I actually feel very blessed that I was able to actually experience that kind of love in my life. So
Wonderful.
that for me is a very romantic movie.
All right. Okay, next question. A relationship cliche you secretly believe in.
You know, there is this song. It's an old song from the movie Jambaz, which says, "Har kisi ko nahi milta yahan pyar zindagi mein." You know, like not everybody gets the chance to experience this kind of love that we're
Yeah.
experiencing. Uh, Somewhere, you know, over the years, listening to so many people's stories and listening to so many people coming up to me with, their situations, I sometimes, I tell my partner, like there is something like not everybody finds love, it is something that is rare and special. And I don't mentally want to believe that not everybody finds love, because I want to believe that everybody finds love, and everybody will experience that kind of a thing. But somewhere that when I the more I talk to people, I feel if you have it, man, really 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 be grateful for it, because it's so special.
It
you
is so
know
special.
it's really special.
And
So
yes, you're right. Not everybody gets it. So if you get it, then you better savor it and, kind of keep
yes,
it safe. All
make
right.
the most of it.
Make the All right. The next question. If love were a dish, what would it be for you?
Oh, for me, all dishes lead to my mom. And
Okay.
I think all food is the best food in the world. Is, as my kids say, nani food. Like there's nothing
Okay.
like nani food.
Mhm.
So yeah, for me, all dishes lead to my mom. And more after my marriage, because my mother-in-law is also an amazing cook.
Okay.
And she makes these wonderful Kerala dishes. So
Mhm.
for me, from both sides, both my mothers, they're both their food is like for me the ultimate food in the whole world. So
There is
it's the very definition of love for me.
So there is a lot of love coming from both the sides.
Yes, and you can see that in my size.
Well, not really, but all right. Okay. Now, a non-love kind of a question. If you could time travel, would you like to go to the past or the future?
Oh, I don't want to go to the past. I think
Okay.
it's very difficult to go through those journeys again.
Hmm.
Yeah, I would definitely like to go to the future, and to see how far I have come, or how far others have come. How far humanity has come. I
Okay.
would definitely like to go to the future. I think I'm much more forward oriented than I don't want to look at the back anymore. It's
All right.
it's it's done.
Fair. And finally, if you could have a superpower, what would it be?
I want all women to see their own truth and their own power.
Okay.
And I wish that if I had a superpower, I could really help uh, women see that they are devis, they are goddesses. They have feminine energy is it is the Shakti that drives the whole universe.
Mm-hmm.
Without that feminine energy, the universe cannot go round.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and when you understand that that is your power, that is your strength, suddenly everything, all your problems look very small, all your challenges in your life look very small when you realize you have that kind of Shakti in you, you have that kind of power.
Mm.
So I really wish that I was able to make all the women, especially women who are struggling and who are suffering, um, to really understand that you have that superpower, and you are goddesses. You're already goddesses. And I truly believe that the female uh, the female sexuality, for instance, I feel it's the beginning of everything. It's
Mm.
where everything begins. And
Mhm.
the clue is that there are so many restrictions on female sexuality. The whole institution of marriage is created to repress female sexuality. That's the clue that there is something in it, that
Yeah,
it's too powerful to handle.
right.
And that's the truth. If women wake up to their own power, their own self-love, their own sexuality, um, I think the world would look very different.
Yeah.
And we would not have so much hatred and war, because women are generally more forward looking, and we want to take care of the future generation. So we would not make so many choices that are destructive for the planet and
Right.
destructive for humanity. So we need more and more feminine power to come up, and for women to rise and to understand, and for men to rise to that power. They have feminine energy too, but they suppress it because society tells us that the feminine energy is not the preferred one, and the preferred one is the masculine energy, which is always rewarded. uh, but it's men also who need to wake up to their feminine energy and their feminine power, and that's when you'll have a more balanced world. Right now it's really imbalanced.
True. True. So fine, that is it. So thank you so much, Ekta, for taking time out. We've been trying to do this for a very long time. And I'm so glad we did it this way. So, like you were saying, like you understand much later why certain things happen when they happen. So, as far as our conversation goes, I think we had to have this conversation, and that is why it happened now and not then. So thank you so much for this wonderful, wonderful conversation and taking time out. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Sangeeta, for your very thoughtful questions, and for putting all this together, and for your determination to keep doing this despite all your hectic job and everything. So really, hats off to you.
I think I have a role model in you, as I told you when we met, that I always have looked up to you. And eShe was a very big thing and something that I looked up to. And I mean, if my, platform could be even a patch on that, it would
Oh,
like
it is.
really,
Oh, it is.
really make my
You're doing a great job. You have your own space in the universe, and
yes,
you're owning it
we all do.
completely. So yeah, you're absolutely, you're good where you are.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you for tuning in to the About Her show. If you enjoyed this episode, there's plenty more from where that came from. Our previous guests have shared some amazing stories, so be sure to catch up on past episodes. To keep up with our inspiring conversations and to never miss an update, hit subscribe, rate, review, and share the love. Follow us on social media for some great content, and don't forget to check out our website www.aboutherbysangeeta.com for stories that resonate, inspire, and empower. Know a remarkable woman or an inspiring man blazing a trail? We'd love to hear from you. Drop us a note at web.abouther@gmail.com and let's bring their story to life on the About Her show.